Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Ask Me Anything session. I'm Sergeant Mary Lou Schwint from West Region Uniform Recruitment, and I'm here with Constable Michelle Smith. I absolutely love that introduction, that video that we just watched.
It's the first time I've seen it. That's the first time I've seen it. I really love that new video. It's great.
I think it's easy for us. We get so busy in our own areas of the organization, and I know in recruitment we're so busy right now. You kind of forget how big of an organization we are, and all those different areas of the province that we police. Those were some really neat videos or screenshots to see there. So welcome. We are happy to be here with you today. Obviously, these sessions are for you. We want to get anyone watching here or watching later the best answers, get you the best information. The OPP is hiring. We're hiring big numbers. We need frontline officers. So we want to make sure that we're getting the information out as to how to apply and what makes you competitive. So Michelle, why don't we do a quick little thing about where you work, what your background is, and kind of where the career's taken you.
Absolutely. So I started my career way back in 1998. I know I don't look that old, but I am. And I did about 8 years on the road. And then from there, I moved into community services and media relations. My first attachment was actually Norfolk. And then I transferred closer back to home, which was London for me. And so I moved to Elgin. So Elgin is where I was doing my community service and media relations position. Had some amazing experiences with that, including one of the largest homicides in Ontario's history, the Bandito homicide. I was the media officer on that case. And then from there, I went back on the road for about 6 months doing a second in command role. And then I moved into the domestic violence investigator role, which was a goal of mine that I had always had. I really wanted to be involved in those cases full time. And after doing that for a couple of years, I then successfully obtained a position as a detective in our crime unit in Elgin. And I did that for about 8 years. I did most of the child-related offenses for our unit. And I kind of, took a bit of its toll. And I took a step back and realized, okay, where's the next avenue I'd like to take? And that's when I moved into recruitment and been in recruitment now the last 2 years and absolutely loving it.
And we're loving having you in recruitment. We've had a really similar career. I think we've talked about this in the past. I did road time and then went into the crime office as a domestic violence and abuse issues coordinator as well. For me, this was a second career. I did not grow up wanting to be a police officer, but as I was working my way through my 20s, I started being, looking for a little bit more. I wanted a little bit more out of my career and started looking at policing at that point. So I was 30 when I joined. I won't say how long I've been here because that'll give away my age, but I did the domestic violence and abuse issues coordinator position for about 5 years and then went into a mental health role. That's when, we really started seeing an increase in the mental health calls and trying to find a better way for a better response to these types of calls and how we can, work alongside our partners in the community to provide the best assistance for people in need. So I was able to help with a project called Impact to get mental health clinicians out to these calls quickly and help us to kind of triage these individuals and try to assist them as best as they can. So did that for several years. I went back to the road for a bit. And then like Michelle, I ended up back in the media office and doing community service and that sort of thing. So from there, yes, into recruitment. I was fortunate enough last year to be promoted. So it was, as a sergeant in this unit, and I work with an amazing team. But we are busy, that is for sure. But it's funny, like I was talking about why you mentioned, you were drawn to work with the victims of domestic violence. That was actually why I wanted to join policing as well, is to help out, get involved in those types of investigations. And it kind of brought me back to an article I was reading last week. I don't know if I was telling you about it, but it caught my eye because it talked about the reasons why people choose the career that they go into. Mm-hmm. And when I was reading this article, it kind of struck me is that I may not have made that conscious decision when I chose policing to base it on these factors, but it's funny how much the policing align with these factors. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes and just share that with you. I'm going to keep watching the questions as well. So as they come up, we'll get them. But one of the things that came up, obviously, one of the top things we always look at is monetary. So looking at, financial and what kind of wage and what kind of income we get. For policing, it's online. You guys can see it on our website what we pay. A first class constable is going to be around $100,000 starting, really. And from there it's overtime and paid duties if you choose to take them. So it provides that financial stability, and that was something that I was looking for in my early 30s. Is I wanted a career, because I came from a commission-based sales career. I wanted some stability, along with pension, of course, and benefits. So that was one of the reasons one of my reasons for choosing policing. Another thing in this article that brought up was your organizational reputation and management. And I thought that was interesting because policing, I know it does get some negative press, but there's a lot of good stories. And I think, unfortunately, it's easy for us to gravitate to negative, but there's so many good, positive stories that we hear in the community and from our officers. And I know I read daily shift briefings, what our officers are out there doing. And it gives you that chance, to be involved with your community and get to know them and help people at their time of need. Like, isn't that funny? That kind of lined up with what I wanted, but I didn't even know it. Is that the same for you, Michelle, or?
Well, when I got on, I was 23. So money at that time wasn't at the forethought for me. I just wanted to jump into the career, both feet, and the money to me was a bonus. How quickly that the actual salary starts to increase once you're done at the police college. I wasn't prepared for that, but it certainly at that young age set me off financially quite quickly. And that was a nice surprise for somebody who started at a younger age.
Absolutely. Yes. Smart on you to do that. But yeah, for those of you out there that, not on it like Michelle was, early 20s, it's not too late. I mean, like I said, I was 30. We have people applying in their 50s, and there's absolutely no reason not to. So don't let the age dissuade you at all. There's a question here actually from Douglas, directed to both of us. What was your inspirations that directed you towards the role you've been in so far with the OPP?
Well, on a personal note, for me, I think I was drawn towards domestic violence. I had grown up in a home where domestic violence was present, and seeing things that had happened, I knew that at that time, I was young and wasn't able to really involve myself with it. But in the role as a police officer, I was able to take the experiences, one, as a child, seeing things happen, but two, also knowing what my parents were experiencing, to my investigations. And it really helped me kind of empathize more with our victims, because we do know a lot of our victims don't report the violence. They keep it quiet behind, for their own personal reasons, their own safety. And that was one thing that I wanted to be, that voice, to have them. And for me, that's why I pushed towards the domestic violence. And it was very rewarding, and one of the best decisions I think I did in my career, to be honest.
Absolutely. I was also drawn to the crime office and domestic violence part of it. It was more for me in society, with a lot of my female relationships, my friends, and that, seeing some of the stuff that they went through, and maybe kind of lack of understanding sometimes. It felt like with the policing at the time, there's been a lot of education and training since, thankfully.
Huge.
And, we've come a long way, but I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to have that impact as well. I will say though, like, coming into the career, I would not have guessed where my path would have taken me at all. I think I interview a lot of people, regular recruits coming into the process, that they've got a really set plan. They're going to do 3 years here, they're going to transfer over here, then they're going to be a canine officer, then they're going to, and that is fantastic. I'm a person, I love goals. I love to have, those ideas in my head that I'm working towards. But really, I think, especially with the OPP, be open-minded. Keep that open mind throughout your career, because if you get pigeonholed, or if you pigeonhole yourself in one direction, you may miss a lot of good opportunities that are available to you in this organization. We are the second largest police service in Canada, and with that comes a lot of specialty units, a lot of training opportunities, a lot of room for growth and development, which is actually another factor that people consider when they're looking at a career, is that people are looking for ongoing training, ongoing development. And I don't know any type of career like policing where you could come in and have something like what you and I have done, where we've had investigative roles, we've had community, outreach roles. We've had that frontline policing role. Now we're into like more of a human resources role, right? And we still have a lot of time left in our careers. Like, who knows what we could explore yet. So yeah, like it's hard. You get influenced for sure by your supervisors and your peers, but really keep those doors open. And if you get offered a course, if you get hired, take the course, because you never know what might, really resonate with you.
That's so true. It is, like you have ideas of where you think your path is headed, and something happens and it takes you in a completely different direction. For me, I thought crime was where I was going to end my career, but the way it worked out, I knew that I needed to change some things for my own mental health, and it worked out. And I knew recruitment was where I wanted to end up, and so I ended up a little bit earlier. And I'm glad that I did, because it's the next generation, right? We've got all these new recruits, and it's just, to me, it's been amazing. And I love the fact that there's so many people out there that are interested in this career, and that they know it's a career. This is not a job. This is a career. This is something that you dedicate yourself to. And I'm proud to be part of this organization. Really am.
Another question here on the application for the assessment questions. What advice would you guys give for writing those sections? You know what? I've seen all kinds of methods. Some people write in paragraph form. Some people jot down in point form. I would just say at several sentences, don't go overboard on it. Just kind of highlight, what you'd want us to know. So if it was fitness, I'm an avid strength trainer. I love CrossFit. Use that as an example. I play hockey on the side, and I love, I use this as my stress management. Something neat to summarize the section. If it's driving or something, you're going to summarize maybe how long have you had your license, if you've had some, have you made some mistakes at all, quickly recognize that, and maybe any type of specialty training you've had or experiences you've had driving. Just a few sentences, nothing, you don't have to write paragraphs there. It just kind of gives us a quick little summary of you. Just scrolling up on these questions. What kind of questions can one expect during the interview stage of the OPP? What do you think, Michelle?
Well, this is not the area where we're going to give you, the ins and outs of the interview, but it is an opportunity for you to show us how competitive you are. We don't give you trick questions. It's your opportunity to share your experiences, your life experiences, job experiences, school, and to show us all your abilities that you're going to be able to bring to the career. So being able to speak to your skills, your abilities, and your experiences that you've had, that's how you are successful in your interview.
I mean, getting comfortable talking about yourself. I could hardly get the words out, but yeah, getting comfortable talking about yourself for sure. How long after the shuttle run submission does it take to hear back? It varies. Be patient. We are working through your applications and the videos as soon as we can. We recognize that waiting's not fun. So hopefully within, a few weeks or so, maybe you'll hear back from us, but just be patient. News will come. Why did you choose OPP over federal policing, such as RCMP or even regional forces? I love this question. Gives us a chance to sell the OPP. I know for myself, I looked at both. I honestly did look at both. And I am so grateful that I made the decision I did. You will find with the OPP, if you do your research, that literally, we've talked about already, the opportunities for growth and development, they can't be matched in other services, just simply because of the size and the scope. The OPP is the ones that we're going to get called in for those larger investigations. We're going to call them when more resources are needed. And so to be part of an organization where that opportunity lies, for me, it's 30 years. If you put in 30 years for a career, that's a long time to spend with an organization and a job. So variety is nice. Having those training opportunities, it's nice to have that. And the OPP provides it. I know we also hire experienced officers and, get quite a few applications there, which is great. Our regional partners, our regional services are fantastic as well. We work alongside them, and, people will have their reasons for going there. They want to stay close to their communities, live in a larger city sometimes. That might be it. But just keep in mind with the OPP, you do have those opportunities as well. We take a look at our map of detachments all over the province. It gives us, with the OPP, you have the ability to move. So you have a lot of input as to your detachment location for posting. Obviously, we cannot give everybody their first choice all the time, but we really try to work with our recruits and put them in areas where they're going to be comfortable and they're going to succeed. We recognize that if they're happier at their home life, they're going to be happier at their work life. So we give you your job posting at the time of job offer, so you are well aware of where you're going. And we've done that with your input as well. So, but then you got to look down the road further. If you ever want to move with your career, whether life choices take you, you know, you meet someone, you want to move, you want to start a family, you want to move closer to a different part of the family, you want to experience the North. With the OPP, you can stay with your organization and transfer to those different locations and not lose anything. So I just think it's that overall, the opportunity. I love the professionalism of the OPP, our values, our mission statement. It all resonated with me. So do your research for sure. Everyone's different, but specifically for me, that's why I chose the OPP.
You know, it's when I was first thinking of getting into career in policing, I applied, I looked into the RCMP, I looked into a local municipal police service, and then the OPP. And I found that through the process, I found, for whatever reason, even going back 24 years, that I found the OPP for me personally was a lot more approachable. And it was the type of policing that I wanted to get involved in, more of a hands-on, I start the investigation, I finish the investigation, I take it to court, rather than it being, you know, taking that initial call and having to send it off to a specialized unit, which may happen in some of our municipal police services or federal. So for me, it gave me the opportunity to do the whole, you know, kit and caboodle. I got to do everything that I loved. And the idea of policing. And so for me, that's why the OPP was, no question, hands down, the one that I chose.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the other thing too, is creating those relationships within our community. The OPP, we tend to have a little bit more opportunity to do that. So that to me is important as well, to be able to walk into the stores downtown and they know who you are, and they recognize you both on and off duty because of your, you know, you walk in the streets when you're in uniform, right? You get proactive patrol. So for sure, that is important. Question here about the auxiliary process. I don't know the next step after the auxiliary interview. I would encourage you, you can shoot us an email. It's got to be an auxiliary email on there. If not, email uniformrecruitment@opp.ca and we'll get you that information. We don't handle the auxiliary process, but we can get you that information if you send us an email. How much does volunteer experience help in the application process? And as well, kind of going with that, someone else has asked or mentioned they have no volunteer experience because they switched their career goals. Wondering if they should wait to get some through Big Brothers Big Sisters or just apply now. So volunteer.
To me, you know, I think volunteering is very important. You know, when I've talked to candidates and potential candidates and recruits, it's what we do every single day that we put this uniform on is we're helping others. We're putting others before ourselves. And I personally, as a recruiter, I like to see that in our candidates, that they are already dedicated to helping the community that they live in, because that will carry over into a career. And within the OPP, that's what we do. You know, as you just said, a lot of our communications and outreaches and everything are done on those foot patrol moments where they get to know us. So to me, it's volunteering is important, but you should be doing something that you really enjoy, because it's something to give back for yourself as well. So I think that, you know, finding something that you enjoy to volunteer will certainly help. I'm not sure if you guys are you having difficulty hearing me?
I am. Oh no, I'm hearing you, but I've just lost some comments here, all the chat. Okay. But I know going along with what you're saying about community service there. So specifically that question regarding whether or not you should wait or not, that's really up to you. I'd encourage you look at those 10 areas of assessment that we're considering, or, you know, basing it on. Community service absolutely is important. In saying that, you know, we all have different paths and we all have different, you know, different roads have brought us to where we are, right? So it may be that maybe you were working full time and going to school. Maybe there's young children at home and you couldn't get the community service in. Being able to articulate that and speak to it at an interview is going to be important. I would encourage you to keep going with your application to Big Brothers and Big Sisters, or whatever it is. But just keep in mind, yeah, it is one area of assessment. Absolutely, I think going forward is something you should look at, because, like Michelle said, it's such a big part of about our career. There was another question. I still can't see it, but there was one following it. Something about, we speak to what we like about the job, but he's asking us for a question that we don't like. And that kind of brings me to this, is like, what I don't like is that it's a lot of times I think our officers aren't recognized for all the good stuff they do. And I think a lot of people are really humble on this job, actually. I know a lot of my friends here that do a lot of volunteer work. You don't hear about it necessarily. And I was so grateful. I was at a store in our local community, actually getting some skates sharpened on the weekend. And the owner of the store was talking about two young people that we had hired from the area. And I actually was involved in their process and how well they're doing. And these two young people had grown up playing lacrosse. And then when they were about 15 or 16, started coaching lacrosse. Coincidentally, they both got hired by the OPP in the same year. They're working in different counties outside of our county, but they're both continuing to coach lacrosse. They work opposite shifts completely. So they manage one team together, knowing that one of them is always going to be off the way the shifts run. And I'm like, that is fantastic. Here are two young people, early mid-20s, and they're still with the shift work and a new career in that. They're still giving back to their community, and they're finding a way to make it happen. And I think that's what I wish would get out more, is all those, good news stories that we do, because there's a lot of them that happen.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like here, so someone has made a comment that they are not the most strong physically, but they do have some other skills that they think would be useful to the OPP. So I think, so this is more in relation to our civilian side. So you can actually look on our website, opp.ca/careers. And we have it divided into sections on there for experienced police officers, constable selection, and as well, you can see civilian positions. So if you're thinking that you might be more towards the avenue of civilian, please take a look at that. We are always hiring on our civilian side as well. And if you do have those specialized, as you call, nerdy skills, those are absolutely things and skills that may be useful to the OPP. So take a look and see if there's any positions and things that might be in there. Okay. What else do we have in here?
A question about why muscle and fitness is top priority, but education and experience is not. I can't agree that it's top priority and education and experience is not. They're all going to be, they're all important, honestly, for different reasons. So the education, we're going to assess that because we need to make sure that you have the ability to pass OPC. It's a college level course down in Elmer. All the officers in Ontario are trained there. 75% is your what you need to pass. So we are assessing your academic ability through the process, and that's what makes it important. When it comes to why muscle and fitness is top priority, I'm going to assume that's because we're asking for those fitness videos before we start your application, and I'm going to go that route because fitness and health is extremely important. But at the Ontario Police College, you are required to hit level 7 on that shuttle run, the beep test, a lot of people know it by. So there is no point of us sending you to police college if you don't have that ability to pass that level 7, because you're not going to get your basic constable certificate, and then you're not going to get your badge, and you're not going to get to work as a frontline officer with the OPP. So that is why that fitness component now is put at the beginning of our process, because we want to make sure that you are physically ready to pass that test before we proceed on with the other parts of the process. That fitness part can take a while. If you're not a runner, it takes some training and time to build up that cardiovascular endurance. But yeah, I wouldn't say that they're more important. All the areas are important, and those are just reasons kind of why we have them laid out the way we do.
And it's funny when back in my CSO days, I remember the kids in the class going and speaking to them, and they say, you've got a lot of tools on your belt. And I said, I do. I have a lot of useful tools, but I said I have one useful tool that is not on my belt, and that's up here, and that's my brain. And that comes from, to me, someone actually mentioned in here that they've done over 200 apprehensions and never having to get physical. And that's by using, your voice and your de-escalation skills. And so, yeah, your communication skills, education, things like that are certainly very important to this career. And especially now where, policing itself has changed. I know in my, 24 plus years, how much policing has changed, the view on policing, protocols, policies, all of that. And a lot of that comes down to using those communication skills and your de-escalation skills as well.
Yeah, so I've not seen any of the questions yet, Michelle, so I'm going to have to depend
on
you.
I'll read them out for you. We've got one here asking about the REACH program, if we're accepting any new intakes at the moment.
Right now, it's not active. I haven't heard when the next one will be going. Typically, what we do is announce that on social media. So if you're not following us already on one of our platforms, we're on LinkedIn now. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Check our OPP Careers website as well. We will get that information out. So when there is one coming up, for sure, you'll know through that avenue. Right now, I don't have a date for it.
Okay, and we've got another one. Somebody asking here about appropriate cover letter. How should one state their name and in what font, bolding, etc., compared to the content in a cover letter? So, in this case, it's everything that you should be submitting is your choice on how it is submitted, but it should always be professional, how it looks, how it reads. You don't want to put too much information in because obviously your file may be too large to even be submitted, but you also want to make sure that everything is addressed to the right police service. I have seen a few that have been addressed to the wrong police service. So just those little, fine tuning things that you want to look at, but your choice of font and that type of thing, that's not what we're looking at. We're reading the content of it, and that's what's important, the content of what you include in your resume as well as your cover letter.
Maybe nothing too fancy. When I have to start reading the scripted ones, my eyes are too old for that. So nice and basic, big font.
So we have another question about education. Somebody here has a grade 12 education. Would they still be able to join?
Yep. Your basic minimum requirement is your grade 12 diploma. So absolutely, you can absolutely join. And yeah, for all the basic minimum requirements, you can check that out on our website as well. And then, if you've got your grade 12 and you're thinking I want to wait a little bit, I would say continually upgrade, even if, later in life, if it's been a while since you took some education or courses, I'd encourage you, get some certificate courses through, whether it's through the colleges or university online. Actually, on our website, we've got a couple of great ones, Be the Bridge and the Inclusion Certificate. Those are really good to learn about the Indigenous history, the culture. Those are two I really recommend. Indigenous Awareness through University of Alberta is another one that I see a lot on applications. That's a great one as well. But yeah, grade 12, you are eligible to apply for sure.
Absolutely. Another question. This is in relation to the prep that was canceled. We have been running those practice prep tests, and due to weather, it was canceled. So yes, they are trying to plan for more sessions, and hopefully we'll be able to get them in a larger area in the province. You have to be appropriately trained in order to run those sessions. And so that's what we're working on. But yes, keep a look on our social media and on our opp.ca careers site, and you'll be able to see upcoming events that we've got coming up. Okay, so we've got a question now in relation to the 6 posting preferences. How does the OPP view if we decline the offered posting? Is it possible to defer an offer to the next OPC intake? It's a good question.
Yeah, there's probably no straightforward answer to this one. We have conversations with you throughout the process about your posting locations and why you have chosen the ones you've indicated. So at the time of interview, we ask you to indicate your top 6 posting locations to us. We really ask that you do your research on them. Throughout the province, different detachments in the different areas, they have a lot of different things to offer. So obviously, if you are interested in marine and boat patrol, you want to choose a detachment that's going to offer you that. If you're looking for more highway traffic type of policing, an HSD detachment is what you might want. Whereas if you're looking more for, you want to get into investigative or crime, you want to make sure you're choosing a detachment that offers those types of services if possible. So we're going to talk to you about why you chose your postings. We know a lot of the times it comes down to families and significant others, and we understand that. So we try to work with you on that as well. I think it requires for it to work some flexibility, both the organization and the individual at times. But if there's any sort of special needs, and when I think of that, I think of, maybe you have children that need to be located close to a hospital. They've got medical, issues, or a spouse is located to a specific type of work that they need to be by an airport. Things like that. That's the type of information that we really want to know. And then what we do at the time of job offer, the OPP will let us know, where the postings locations are throughout the province. And we have a fantastic admin staff that try to work with who we have ready to be hired versus where they want to go. And we do a really good job of getting the majority of their candidates, I bet, one of their top 4, if not one of their top 6 posting locations. Deferring it becomes risky, right? I mean, can you defer? It has happened. But that's not to say that next class we're going to be able to accommodate, your number 1 posting location at that time. And I think we've all seen the last few years with COVID, things change, class sizes, maybe they'll get put off for some reason. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of factors that go into this. So deferring it, that is a big, big decision. That would be something you'd want to discuss with the command staff at the time or the employment coordinator at the time as to your reasons. And then we'd have to determine it from there. We do give you your job offer at the time, or so you're posting at the time of job offer, and you're committing until you're a first-class constable to stay at that posting location, and then you're eligible to apply for a lateral transfer from there. I think a lot of people do find, though, they get their posting location, and maybe it was their 3rd or 4th choice, but sometimes kind of breaking out from that initial mold of wanting to be close to home has a lot of advantages to it. The doors kind of get open for you. So I would just encourage you to do your research and just communicate with us throughout the process. And we will do our best to place you where we think you're going to, be happy and they're going to succeed.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes to another question here about somebody who's currently interested in applying and they're wondering if they can reach out for any guidance or steps. So what I would recommend is if you do look at our opp.ca/career site, all your facts and questions are all answered in there, our application requirements. But if you're still requiring a little bit more information, you can also email us at opphire@opp.ca and ask your questions there. And
uniform recruitment at opp.ca.
Sorry.
Send your email there. Yeah, I think
we've got
maybe Sarah will put in the chat for us, but yeah,
yes,
uniform recruitment at opp.ca is where we want it to go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. My mistake. But yeah, so, feel free to ask your questions in there and we get back as soon as we can. There's multiple members of the unit that do respond and take care to make sure that it doesn't get backlogged too bad. So somebody here, I submitted my application back in July and wasn't able to surpass level 7 on the shuttle. I can now surpass it, but I've already submitted my applications for other police services and now on the interview level. Someone has convinced them to proceed with their OPP application. And when is the next course? Well, I'm glad that your friend has convinced you.
Your friend sounds like a genius to me, actually.
Apply.
Yes.
A lot of police services are hiring. And I'm glad that you're considering that. So the next course, the OPC for every police service is at the same time. And the next class will be in April. And following that, the class will be in September and then in January. Those 3 class intakes are the same every single year for every police service. So no matter who you get hired with, that's the way that it goes. So, even though you may be at final stages or the interview stage level with other ones, doesn't mean that you won't, achieve that level or even surpass it with the OPP. So, we are hiring. And if you're a strong candidate that other police services are interested in, well, obviously we'll be interested in you as well.
And send it in, and let us know that you've applied to other services as well.
Absolutely.
We ask that of everybody. We'll try to, work with you on that. But for sure, you still have time to give us the opportunity, and hopefully it goes well.
Also with fitness tests, do you have any upcoming in the GTA or any for women specifically?
Oh, I love that question. I wish I had the answer because I'm looking into that right now. I'm working on it. So as far as any upcoming ones, though, just keep an eye on social media, on our website. We post them there. Right now, they typically are being held in the GTA. We are looking to try to get that expanded a little bit. Like Michelle mentioned before, there's a training component of it that we have to make sure that we're covered on. And there's also getting the equipment and getting the facility. So just, for women only, I love that idea. And I can tell you that there's another recruiter and I have been working on that plan. So if that can happen, we'll get the news out as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Pardon me. Okay. So we've got, what is the best option for over 40 years, but has a vast experience as an investigator for money laundering? So like a desk job in HR administration. So I'm not sure, this is for Sarika. I'm not sure if you're thinking a civilian job or a constable. Age doesn't matter if you are able to pass and achieve all the requirements. Age is just a number. We don't see it as anything to hold you back for any reason. But if you are thinking of something more in a civilian side, just take a look at our website, opp.ca/careers, and take a look at our civilian section. And then you can also take a look on there for other positions that would be on the civilian side. Okay. At what stage of the application process do I need to have my references ready?
So when you apply, you might throw in a couple of reference letters with your application. If you are invited to interview, you'll have to fill out some documents, and part of those documents will be a personal history form where we'll require you to indicate 3 educational or learning references, 3 employment references, and 3 character references at that point. So it's at the interview stage. Prior to your interview, you're going to be sending in those documents. We will not be contacting any of those references unless you move to the background stage. And even before we contact them, the background investigator would give you a call, kind of give you a heads up. So if you wanted to let them know at that point, we know that sometimes, obviously, you don't want to tell a current employer about looking for a job elsewhere until you need to. So we will not be contacting those references until you reach a background stage and we give you a heads up.
Now there's a question, how will you know of a pass-fail status after the LFI? Does it happen immediately or over a period of time? Well, there's no set time. What happens is once your interview is completed with your recruiter, they submit a report, and then your entire file is reviewed by management, and they determine if you're a strong enough candidate to move to the next stage. So remember that we have multiple recruiters doing multiple daily interviews. And so that's a lot for our management to review and to ensure that we're, moving along the strongest candidates. So be patient. I always say no news is good news. If you are starting, to get a little concerned, there's nothing wrong with sending us an email, just touching base to see if there's anything that you need to update or anything like that. But you will know one way or the other if you are successful or required to defer for a year. You'll know as soon as possible from the OPP. Somebody will let you know.
And they know, management knows that waiting's not fun.
No,
so they really do. So they really do get you that answer as soon as possible. And I think with probably most people get it within a couple of weeks. But things happen. We know that too. So we always say on average. But we do know that waiting's not fun.
Yeah. Okay, so someone has a question regarding post-education. They have a trade school in auto mechanics and a diploma in networking engineering, which is a 1-year program. How does that fare with the education requirements?
It's fantastic. Yeah. like we said earlier, high school is your minimum requirement, and we hire people with high school education and no post-secondary. Absolutely. It comes down to your ability to learn. So yeah, that's just even more proven ability to learn. Plus you've picked up some new skills um, and knowledge along the way that you can probably transfer over to this career at some point.
Well,
So
I'm
yeah,
thinking
it's
someone like
fantastic.
that, right, might be interested in like a highway safety division or
Collision,
reconstruction
reconstructionist.
engineer. Yep. That those skills will be widely used
Absolutely.
in that. I can think of a few officers that actually started off as mechanics prior to becoming police officers and went that path because of their knowledge related to vehicles.
Yes.
Okay, what do we have here? If you have done some education outside of Canada, will out of country references work?
Yeah, you know what the beauty of COVID is, it's really taught us all to be very, very versatile in communication and communicating online. So our background investigators, a lot of the investigations are often done virtually. So if your references outside Canada, that's not a problem. Get us the contact information as well, and we will proceed with that. And if we need something further, the background investigators would let you know. But that's not a
Mhm.
problem.
We have a question in relation to speeding tickets. Somebody had quite a few in their high school years, and their last one being a year and a half ago. Would you say it's better to wait or apply? So you can apply as long as you haven't exceeded 6 demerit points and you have a full G license. So, obviously, if I'm not, I can't assume how long your driving record is, but high school could have just been 2 years ago, or high school could have been 15 years ago. So it's, being able that your car is your office, and the OPP wants to make sure that you will be safe, not just for yourself, but for the public that you're serving. And your driving history does make, we have to see your driving history, but sometimes we all make mistakes. Own your mistakes, speak to your mistakes, and hopefully you've learned those lessons and those won't continue. But if you feel that you need time to wait, then that's a decision you can make. But as long as your points aren't beyond that requirement, then there is nothing to stop you from applying if that's your reason for holding off. Okay. With the understanding that the OPP is always looking for new recruits, can you tell us how many you're looking to hire this year?
We have 3 intakes per year for regular recruits, and I don't know if there's a set number. I think our last class was around 100. Last year we were doing classes of 135, 140. We are equipped, we can handle that number. So I don't think we're opposed to that number if we got there. I would say, yeah, 135 per class is kind of where we'd like to be at. So those are large numbers. I know when I came through, there was 108 in our class, and it felt big, but the OPP does a fantastic job of, managing it. And yeah, it's great to have that number of people with you as like that's your team when you go to OPC. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Should we include work and school experience related to the position, even if it is 16 years ago? Well, as part of your application, you are required to give us all your employments that you've had since the age of 16. So for some, that could be a short period of time, and for others, that could be a little bit longer. So making sure, if you can't remember all the jobs that you've had before, you can always get a record of your employment from the revenue agency. And sorry, pardon me. You get your record to find your start dates, complete dates. There may be cases, I'm sure a question will pop up. What if the company's closed? What if I don't have a contact number? Put the information that you have and that you can obtain, the last known information that you are aware of. And don't forget, we are an investigative service, and our background investigators are top notch, and so they find whomever they need to find in order to complete their investigation that way. Oh, I like this question. Do you need to be an Ontario resident to apply?
Nope. Canadian citizen, permanent resident, you need to be one of those. I think that, again, the beauty of COVID has taught us how to do interviews with people all over the world. I actually interviewed an experienced officer last week who was in India at the time. So yeah, a lot of flexibility in our processes now. And yeah, you don't have to be a resident of Ontario to apply.
No. Now, if someone has been out of school for a long period of time and unable to collect educational references, are there any other sort of references you would recommend, Sarge?
Yeah, for sure. They're learning references. We're kind of trying to get away from that educational reference term
Mhm.
because I think people get pigeonholed with that. And if you have been out of school, you start to worry that I don't have those. Anyone
Mhm.
that's trained you on anything. So whether it's through a volunteer organization, maybe you've received some training through it. Whether your work, you've been trained on a new job, or your supervisor can speak to your ability to learn, courses online, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Anybody that can speak to that ability to learn. That's what we're looking for. So it does not have to be a formal educational reference.
Mhm. Now, there's a question, when do applications need to be eligible for April? We don't have a cutoff date. There is no specific date. Get your application in by this date. You're guaranteed a position on this time. There is a process, and that process takes as long as necessary in order to get from stage one until the final stage where a job offer. And there's no exact time frame. Things can happen, whether getting in touch with references, security backgrounds, medical, all those types of testing that are completed. So to say when to put it in, you put your application when you feel you are at your strongest and most competitive. That's when you put your application in, and it will run its smooth course. And hopefully, it won't be too long of a process for you, but it does take a little bit of time. But this is not just your typical job. This is a career, and it's a 30-year career. And we want to make sure we're getting the best candidates, but we also want to make sure we're offering the best to our candidates. In order to do that, we have to have a thorough process. I think I'm just trying to see here. I haven't seen any new questions, which is good. We're actually getting caught up, which is nice. Was there any more of that article that you'd like
Yes.
to touch on?
Yeah. So we talked about, the financial part of it, choosing, a job based on income and security. I'm like, check for police. Reputation and management. I think, what better career than, you're standing up for the public, you're, enforcing rules and that you're helping people. The opportunity to develop, we've talked about that here, just our career paths themselves and how many opportunities and, courses and training that you can take. It's endless. Flexibility. I think people get a little caught up and worried about the shift work part of it. I can tell you that. So right now we don't do a lot of the shift work right now, but I
Did a
do
lot of
miss
years of
a
it
lot
though.
of it. Yeah, because I can tell you there's nothing like grocery shopping on your days off when everybody else is at work, or having
Mhm.
that time to yourself to explore your own hobbies and interests when there's not long lineups and that. So there is flexibility, and working the shift schedules, you get a lot of time off. You
You do.
accumulate time off as it goes. Plus, you get paid vacation. And then when you work overtime, you can choose it to take it as paid time, or you can take it as time in lieu. So there is a lot of flexibility to this job, and
Mhm.
so that's actually something that I think is actually a benefit to policing, I would say. The last one that they had indicated was meaningful and fulfilling work. I can 100% say that this career allows you that opportunity. There are tough days in it for sure.
Mhm.
Um, we see things that a lot of people don't see and that you can't unsee, but we have a strong support system within our organization. Support services are offered to us and available to us. You create relationships with your colleagues, that really, those are the people that are there alongside you, that they're helping you through it. You're talking your way through it with them. But at the end of the day, when you make that difference in someone's life, or when you're there to help them, even if the outcome's not what you want it to be, you having that opportunity to try to make it that much better, or help them get through it. I mean, it's so meaningful.
Mhm.
So I read those 5 things. I'm like, policing really, like, even though at the time I didn't recognize why I was choosing it, it certainly hits all those boxes for me. And I'm so grateful that I went down the path that I did.
Mhm. There is no other career like it. Absolutely no other career like it. Just a few more questions here before we finish up for the day. Someone has asked if we're responsible for special constable position hiring, or do they have their own recruiting department?
So we don't do the special constable. There's a different area for that, and the special constable encompasses so much, right? There's Queens Park, there's court, there's security at GHQ, there's prisoner transport. So a different unit does cover that. Uniform recruitment only does for the front line.
Mhm. Okay. So someone here it's a longer message, just about they had been sick when they had submitted their shuttle run video. They did make it to level 7, but we're behind on the last 2 beeps. Would we suggest they send the video in still? If I hand it in, no video, my file closes. How long am I able to apply again?
So they would have got a letter initially when their file, when this submission hadn't happened in time. They would have got a letter detailing that. But just because I don't know the dates here, you can feel free to email us at uniformrecruitment@opp.ca. There is a good window of time there. I think it's within the year or so that we will reopen your file. But I would not submit the video if you didn't hit level 7, because nothing's going to change on your file status. Then we simply can't move it forward until you hit that level 7. So take your time, get there. Don't injure yourself to get there, but work up to that, and then we'll deal with it at the time you hit that level 7. Let us know, and we'll figure out how we're going to reactivate your file, or if you need to apply with a whole new application if it's outdated.
Okay. Now we'll do this as the last question. If I have some debt, does that affect my application negatively? Well, it's one thing you have to think. We do ask for, some of your bank history, as well as, your financial responsibilities. It is important to make sure that our candidates are, fiscally responsible and they don't have themselves in too much debt. That there isn't any concerns or issues related to their finances. So having your finances taken care of and in control is most certainly going to help you that way, in order to, show it not in a negative light. But sometimes, mistakes have been happened when you're younger, maybe missed payments, late payments, things like that. But if things have, made a progression in a positive way, then most certainly it shouldn't affect in most cases.
Yeah, like any of these areas of concern that you might have, just be prepared to speak to them, articulate, maybe the mistake that was made, acknowledge it, take ownership of it. But things happen in life, and we understand that. So we'll look at your finances just to make sure that you haven't, overextended yourself currently. But, majority of people nowadays have debt of some sort. So we totally recognize that. We also recognize that there's a significant cost to going to Ontario Police College. I think it's around $18,000 now, but through our OPPA, our association, we have a fantastic credit union that can help with that. They can work with you. Majority of the candidates that apply are going to get approved, simply because we do that financial background anyhow. So they can set up a payment plan with you on that, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of avenues for that as well. So don't let that discourage you. But yeah, don't let debt discourage you necessarily, but just make sure that you are in a position that you're managing it responsibly.
So just as we finish up here, just a reminder to everybody, take a look at our opp.ca website, look at our FAQs to see, there are questions that we may have missed. Hopefully I didn't. But if we have missed, I'm sure that your question is asked and probably answered already on there. Work on getting everything. Look at the assessment wheel. Anything related to your interview in the process, look at in your application, look at that assessment wheel, look at the 10 components. That's what we're evaluating you at. So evaluate yourself in each of those 10 components. Am I at my competitive best in each of these areas? And when you say that you are, then put your application in, and then you'll be able to speak to those areas because you've already prepared while you are preparing your application for the OPP. And that just helps you throughout the next process, being the interview stage, where, as we said, it's your opportunity to show us how competitive you are and to sell yourself to the OPP itself.
Yep, I completely agree. And anything else, uniformrecruitment@opp.ca, send us an email. Thank you for joining us today. Michelle, thank you for coming along with me for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
And everyone else, enjoy your day.